Really, we all have that number. Not your stove.
Okay, welcome. There's some seats back in the corner.
They'll make a apple stove soon.
Oh, yeah, 63, Pleasant Street, right, yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
This is secret.
Oh, we get to hear all about the town budget at schools.
Yeah, that's fun.
Hi, good evening. There's some seats in either corners.
Yeah, we'll go over here.
You can grab this chair, too.
Two back here.
We'll sit over on that. Thank you.
Okay, good evening. So, welcome. This is the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission. It is March 20th, 2024 at 6:32 p.m. To all persons deemed interested or affected by the Town of Barnstable's Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission, ordinance under Chapter 112, Article 3 of the Code of the Town of Barnstable, you are hereby notified that a hearing is being held at Town Hall 367 Main Street, Hyannis, Mass. Selectmen's Conference Room, 2nd floor, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, March 20th, 2024. This meeting of March 20th, 2024 is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire as to whether or not anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. No takers? Okay. Could people please silence their cell phones, silence, put on vibrate, turn off, whatever it is that you're comfortable with doing, please. I will call the meeting to order. So we have Commissioner Kevin Matthews.
Here.
Commissioner Cornelius Cowley.
Here.
Commissioner Jennifer Hinckley Needham is absent. Commissioner Matthew Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Laura Cronin had said that she could not come. Commissioner Tom Doherty was unable to come, and Commissioner Jack Kay has been delayed in California. And I, Cheryl Powell, Chair, am also here. So the meeting is now called to order. I will note that we do have a quorum tonight, which is a minimum of 4. Welcome to everybody. If I could please ask staff to identify themselves.
Karen Pina, Administrative Assistant, Planning and Development.
And Jim Kupfer, Assistant Director, Planning and Development.
Thank you. I want to also welcome Kathy, who is new to dealing with us on the IT side. Thank you very much for your services tonight. Okay, so there we go. Nothing on trainings other than to remind people if you have to do the conflict of interest training, please contact Cynthia Lovell to see if you're up for needing to renew that. Nothing on awards tonight. We do have correspondence. If nobody objects, I will take that correspondence in relation to the actual applications. It's not necessary to review the purpose. We all know it. Sometimes it's good to remind, but not too pertinent for tonight in a specific manner. Anyway, so new business. The first one is Sophia Bailey, DBA Noah Jewelry, 569 Main Street, Unit D1, Hyannis Map 301, Parcel 111. Awning, A-frame sign. If there's somebody here to represent that application. Oh, she couldn't come. Is there that letter? Is that one of the letters? It's not. Okay.
No, at the last hearing, we had discussed
That's right.
if there was any concerns by the commission to please forward them over. I'm happy to review this application.
Yes, please.
Yep.
I remember that one now. Thank you.
All right, so the applicant is seeking 2 signs. Originally, there was a window sign approved by this commission, so it's 2 additional signs. The applicant seeks a 96-inch by 12-inch awning along the frontage of the storefront. The awning would be black fabric with white lettering and the applicant's logo centered. The applicant is also requesting a 24-inch by 45-inch black plastic A-frame sign, and there's no illumination proposed here. The only item note that I will add is that per the design guidelines, the A-frame sign must be made of a wood, metal, or other quality material. Molded plastic is typically not permitted, so certainly that's something for the commission to discuss. And happy to answer any questions if I can.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions?
Yeah, I have one. I just want to make sure this is stated. So the awning that they're applying for is actually up at this point in time, correct?
Yeah, that's
correct. So it currently
that
exists?
That is correct.
Okay. And is the A-frame also in position at this time?
Yes.
Okay,
my
so
understanding
both of
is-
these things, they're applying for it now, however, they're already up.
Yes.
Got it, okay?
Thank you for clarifying that, Commissioner Matthews. Good point. Any other questions on this particular thing before I open it up to public comment? Nope. All right, I will open this up to public comment. If there is anyone here who wanted to speak to this application, I will leave it open until we go to the motions. Do you have copies of the motions here?
I don't see them tonight.
Does everyone have their copies?
I have my copy.
Mine, Dan? We do not hold Karen up on catching up on typing. We will just take a 1-minute break here.
I think it's a 20, taking a 20.
There-
Oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't know that's what you're
Oh, you
asking
do?
for. I have that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Usually I come with about a dozen copies. This is the first time in like 7 years I haven't. 'cause I
I'm
didn't
sorry, I
have
thought you
time to
meant a
go
copy
home.
of the certificate of appropriateness. I have the, yeah, I have that.
Karen's getting them.
Sorry, Karen.
I'll give it another 30 seconds. I don't want to get too far behind. That's not fair to her. Well, actually, so we've got public comment, discussion.
Jim, does the sign comport with everything else, the awning, I mean?
Yes, the awning complies with zoning and our typical standards for the design guidelines.
And the questions that we have all been addressed, correct?
Correct.
That's
yeah.
what I thought. Thank you so much.
So if I could, Chair, obviously, when someone's opening a business for the first time, they may not know some of the rules and stuff that they need to do.
Yeah.
So obviously, these signs are already in place, even though they weren't approved. I'm fine with the awning the way it is. I think it looks good. I've seen it. It looks good. However, I do have to take the exception with the A-frame sign that it's the rules do not, you cannot have a plastic sign, which was what their sign is. So the thing that I would ask is if we could tell them just to, an A-frame would be fine, but just the standard wood that we normally have the rules to and the regulations to use, I would think would be the right move.
Yep.
You certainly can amend, and any decision rendered, you could certainly condition that
Yeah.
any A-frame must be of this material.
Gotcha.
So, any other comments from other commissioners?
Can we get the name and home address of whoever approved this construction of this plaza in general?
Can I ask why?
Because
Or would you
if
rather
this
not say?
commission existed at the point that that went through,
Yeah.
I would just like to look back on the logic.
It's a tough plaza.
Doesn't match anything.
No, it doesn't, but it looks like this commission began in 1996, and this looks like it predates that. I would guess, Jim, do you know what it is? I would guess somewhere around 1950.
1985.
It still predates, so,
Tough.
yeah. Okay, so, no other comments. I will close public comment and ask if one of the commissioners would like to make a motion, and I would suggest making if the motion is made, it's with the condition of amending the A-frame sign.
Yeah. I can do that if you'd like. So I move that the commission find this application to be compatible with preservation and protection of the district at 569 Main Street regarding the awning, but in regard to the A-frame, we would need that A-frame to be the wood or metal A-frame that is in the requirements and not the plastic A-frame that is up there right now.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Commissioner Carley?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
I also say aye. Would one of the commissioners like to make a motion for the certificate of appropriateness? And I have closed public comment.
I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at, once again, 569 Main Street, again, with the exception of changing out the A-frame to the required wood or metal construction as opposed to the plastic one they have there.
Second.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
Commissioner Crowley?
Aye.
I also say aye, so we can notify them of that with that condition. Okay, so moving on. Cape Concepts LLC, 615 Main Street, Unit 14. Hyannis map 308, parcel 020-00N, with regard to signage. I'm going to put that down there. Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Richard Warner, General
Could I ask you
Manager.
to sign in, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
General Manager of Cove Coastal Kitchen.
Is this the Cape Concepts
Yeah.
Coastal Kitchen? Okay, just to verify for the public. Now tell us a little bit about your project.
Well, they're in the midst of renovating right now, getting ready to open up. Our anticipated or hopeful opening days somewhere around the middle of April. You know, it's going to be coastal New England cuisine with Portuguese influences. We'll be mostly doing dinner and evening service and brunch on the weekends.
Okay. If you could clarify, just to have it so that they match up, it's Coastal Kitchen, but it's also Cape Concepts.
Yeah, Cape Concepts is the LLC name.
Gotcha.
It's the
Okay.
corporate name.
Just so that they match up.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we're doing business as Cove Coastal Kitchen.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to present to us?
No? Unless you had any other questions.
All right. Commissioners, have any questions for clarification on the presentation?
I'm glad you told us it was a restaurant. I thought it was a kitchen store. when
I was
saw
thinking the same
application.
thing, yeah. That's one of the reasons I wanted a clarification, so that the agenda and
Yeah.
that match up.
Yeah, it's been a restaurant for about 50 years, I think, so.
Oh, that place. Oh, yeah, that location's, yeah, quite a while. I have just a question. So this sign is going to be one on the side of Main Street, one on the Ocean Street side, correct?
Yeah,
You have two signs?
Street side, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, yeah, C Street, I apologize. And then you have the signs lit by, in what way?
Goosenecks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know it's a huge building there, but those are the only two signs that you need? There's no window
Yeah,
signs you need? Or
we're going to put some logos on the doors. That's about it.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners with regard to the presentation? No? So, do you have other signs on the building already?
No, we don't have, I mean, the previous incarnation, all his signage is still up there. So it's going to be taken down when we put ours up.
It'll be taken down?
Yeah,
Okay, so we're
yeah.
not adding on to it and going over the
No,
amount
there's
that's allowed?
Those will be our only two signs, like I said, and a couple of signs on the front door. That's
Okay,
about it.
thank you. Can I ask for staff input on this?
Yep, yeah, so we've already touched on it a little bit. So you're adding some decals to the front doors.
Yeah.
Do you have any specifications for that?
It'll be the same as that.
Same design?
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
if the
logo.
commission's comfortable with including that in any motion, that might be worthwhile. And then the gooseneck, is that existing now, the gooseneck lighting?
No.
Okay, so you're adding to?
Yeah.
And do you have any specs for that? Is it like,
I don't.
okay, do you know if it would be like down lighting or up lighting or
It'll be, they'll curve in.
curve down? Yeah,
Down
curve
lighting.
down.
Yeah.
Down lighting, gooseneck, and
Above the signage, it says, yeah.
yeah, and probably metal of some
Yeah,
kind.
metal, white metal.
White metal.
Okay.
Perfect.
Match the sign.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I have nothing further.
Thank you. And you said that these are the existing goosenecks?
No.
Or,
No.
no, these are new?
There's nothing, there's nothing there now.
Okay, nothing there now.
Yeah.
So, and the decals, same as it is, and I had one other, the PVC. what is it within the new guidelines on the PVC?
Well, we're still operating under the existing guidelines, and PVC is allowed. The preferable is some raised lettering, but PVC is certainly an allowed material.
Just wanted to clarify.
Can I also clarify one thing?
Sure.
Decals on windows, is that something we need to approve, or is that something that's allowable?
Right, so yeah, the decals of signage of the business would be signage that would need to be reviewed by, by this commission.
So if in the future you want to put up other decals on, because there's got nothing but windows, other decals or an A-frame or something like that, or a flag or whatever, just make sure you come back first. That would be,
Okay.
we appreciate that.
Yeah, anything that's aesthetically viewed from the street and that, we
Okay.
purview over. Okay, any other questions from the commissioners? Is there anything else that staff wanted to add?
Nothing further.
I'll open it up to public comment. No public comment being heard. I will leave it open until we go to the motions. Commissioners, how do you feel about it?
I think it's great to see your place in there,
Oh, thank you.
and I wish you well.
Thanks.
It's important to
Appreciate
have
it.
an anchor restaurant in there, you know?
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hopefully yours stays for a while. That's been going in and out there.
Hope so, too. I've been in the business for 30 years, so this is my third restaurant. and
Oh, so you're a little crazy.
It's my last one.
Excellent. Okay, in that case, if there's nothing further from the commissioners or from staff, I will close public comment and ask if one of the commissioners would like to make a motion on the findings, please.
Sure. I move that the commission find the application to be compatible with preservation and protection of the district.
Is there a second on that?
I second.
Okay, Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Carley. Commissioner Matthews.
Aye.
I also say aye. Would a commissioner like to make a motion, please, for the certificate of appropriateness?
I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at the 63 Pleasant Street.
Nope,
Nope.
615 Main.
615
sorry.
Main Street.
That's okay.
615 Main Street, as described in the submitted materials.
Can we also,
Second
can we
that.
also, can I also interject there also with the stipulation that you come back for any changes on that, as per Commissioner Matthews?
Yeah, I second that.
And that was seconded. Okay, Commissioner Carley.
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
I also say aye. Okay.
Congratulations, good luck.
Thank you very much.
More Portuguese food.
Yes.
Amen.
I grew up in East Falmouth, so we're a lot of Portuguese people.
I grew up in New Bedford. I trumped you.
Two Portuguese
Definitely, the new beige boys up there.
That's right.
All right, so the next one is KP Remodeling and Construction, Craig Lyon, 63 Pleasant Street, Hyannis, map 327, parcel 120, with regard to a
sorry about
shed.
that.
I see it.
I don't want the town to get sued.
Don't worry. I can sue the town.
Getting rid of that school. I will.
If you could sign in, please.
Depends what's in it.
Yes.
So you didn't have to stay over in the corner too long?
No.
All right, if you could tell us a little bit about your project.
So I'm the owner of KP Remodeling and Construction, and I'm erecting a shed on 63 Pleasant Street for Craig Lyons. It all started out as a simple 200-square-foot permit from the town, no plans. Mr. Lyons decided that he was going to do 12-pitch roof, little dormer in the back. And so Ed Bauer said, whoa, 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 that's a little bit more than a shed, Mr. Lyons. So we went back to the drawing board, and we got it engineered. He asked me to engineer it, and then get a set of plans, and then pull a commercial permit on it rather than a residential. So that's where we're at, and that's why we're here.
So I just want to, I'm Craig Lyon, by the way. I actually went down, Kenny wasn't involved with that part. I went down and pulled a shed permit from the town. And then Ed Bauer came over on another matter to I think we're putting our dumpster in the back of the building, or whatever he was there for. And he said, by the way, I'm looking, that's a shed permit, and it has to not be a shed permit because it's a commercial building.
So heads to you, that's why it's already erected.
Gotcha.
We erected it under a shed permit, and then he said,
then I
we
stopped.
can't have a shed permit on a commercial building, it needs to be he actually called it an
Outbuilding.
Outbuilding. Mhm.
And the purpose for it is just the storage of like the gasoline kind of things, like lawnmowers, snow blowers, all the garden tools, things like that.
I like sheds that have windows in them.
Yeah, it's a beautiful shed.
It's the most expensive shed ever built.
Is that good or bad?
Well, everything I do ends up being expensive, but I mean, those are like true divided light windows and
Nice.
everything.
In a shed.
It's like a she shed. Just a question. Obviously, the shed is already up, but I'm assuming, like you said here, it basically matches the existing house, so everything looks like it's been there from the start.
Exactly.
Excellent.
I like the two-level roof, too. It's clever.
I like the
Okay.
dormer in the back. We get a little dormer in the back. Single window dormer. It's basically to let light in through the second floor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
wanted
real.
to make it look like what you'd see like on a pier for, a fisherman might have to like do his lures and stuff like that upstairs. And I wanted to make it look traditional, and I looked through a lot of books on what was typical of the early, late 1800s, early 1900s. That's why the windows are random. They're not the same, because on a shed you would have just used leftover windows. You wouldn't have used the same windows usually. So.
I like your back stairway design, too, how it's a double.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. That's not erected yet, but it will be.
Okay.
We stopped.
So that is not part of the,
It is
It
part.
is.
Oh, it
We
is.
just didn't build it yet because of we didn't want to go any further till you all put your thoughts on it.
Because I looked at your picture that you have up with the papered and everything. I'm like, wow, that looks like it's a very good AI photo of what it's going to look like. It's already there. I like the door, too.
Yeah, the door was very nice.
Yeah,
All
nice.
mahogany.
yeah, the door is nice.
I have no further questions.
Any other,
I'm sorry, are the stairs part of the application?
well, that's what I was just asking. Apparently they
Aside
are.
from the shed?
No, they're part of the
They're part
shed.
of the shed, okay.
They're the way to
I'm
get to
missing
the second story.
Oh, okay, very good.
There's a big hole on the side of the shed.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if you look at that gable picture I gave you,
Yeah.
it shows a door that's supposed to go there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
There'll be a set of stairs going up to that.
That was confusing me as well, because I thought the stairs are on the house.
That's the picture what it'll look like from the front.
Rails for the stairs?
We're going to use mahogany.
Okay,
And
excellent.
the doors are mahogany, and actually the doors from here are like the same exact doors that they have in Nantucket when you land on the fast ferry on their shed. So I just kind of like those doors, I copied them.
Beautiful.
Yes. Commissioner Clark, did you have any questions?
No, I think it looks good, and I reviewed the application prior to the meeting, so
Yep.
good to go.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to open it up to the public. Is anyone here to speak with regard to this application? Nope. Okay, commissioners, how do you feel about it?
I think it's fine.
It looked great.
In that case, are we ready to go to a motion, in which case I'll close public comment? Actually, first of all, staff, any contribution?
No, nothing further.
Okay. In that case, I will close public comment. Would one of the commissioners like to make a motion on the findings, please?
Sure. I move that the commission find this application to be compatible with preservation and protection of the district
Is there a
at
second?
63 Pleasant Street in Hyannis.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It is seconded. Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Carley?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
I also say aye. Would a commissioner like to please make a motion on the certificate of appropriateness for this
Sure. I'll
property?
follow it up. I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at
63
63 Pleasant Street in Hyannis as described in the submitted materials.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
Commissioner Carley?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
I also say aye. Congratulations. Good presentation. Nice
Thank you
pictures.
very much.
And thank you for clarifying about the stairs, because I was trying to understand, is this for part of the house as well? Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Favorite part of that shed, the door is gorgeous.
I'm going to tell you what that door cost.
That was going to be my next
It
question.
was a custom, one-off. It only exists on his shed.
It looks
But
good.
every time you look at it, you'll say it was worth it.
Actually, when I pull down the back, I actually do say that. I said, wow, that's a nice door.
Okay, Thomas Daly for RAP Family Limited Partnership, 239 Main Street, Hyannis, map 327, parcel 126, with regard to new windows. If you could please sign those. Those of you, if you're presenting, please.
Yeah, contractor.
How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Good. So I'm Thomas Daly. I'm looking to replace some windows at 239 Main Street. It's the old cook shop, now near Bradford's Hardware. Currently, they're single-pane windows. They're in pretty rough shape. Trying to upgrade to Anderson units with grills on them. Each window will have 3 wide over 4 tall, true divided light. Looking to do black color on the windows. Because of the size, some of the openings are over 13 feet. We're going to actually have to put stud pockets in, so there'll be a 3.5-inch piece of trim between each window. They're going to be basically the exact same width and height, minus the 3.5-inch trim. I'm trying to keep all the original trim around there. The mullions or the pilasters or whatever you want to call it between, like around the doors and stuff like that. So basically, we're going to have maybe 1.5 to 2-inch piece of trim around the new windows, which will match the existing color, which is that kind of tan color.
Okay.
There's a total of 11 windows. We're not touching the doors. And I actually brought some other drawings that I drew of rough sketches to scale of the units, if it helps any. Oh, you got copies too?
Yeah, a total of 11 windows that have those all in them.
Yes.
Okay, I thought you were saying 11 in total. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. All right, did you want to pass those around?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Commissioner Crowley, I'm passing across you, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I had to submit pictures of. Oh. Yeah.
No, it's a pretty straightforward application, and the applicant clarified it in the specification. In the application, it stated white trim, or it showed white trim in the specs, but on your application, it said black, so that was my only kind of...
Oh, on that, yeah, because we were originally going to try to do, we were trying to figure out if we were going to do the sandstone, which was as close to the exterior paint color as we could.
Yep.
And then we kind of decided that the black would make it look better. So, yeah, that was just the specs from my salesman.
It also kind of matches the transom windows on top, too, that black,
It does, I was just thinking that.
which are beautiful, by the way. Those
Very,
windows are
very
unbelievable. Yeah.
I think it actually brings it out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to present to us?
That's it.
Any questions?
Suggest,
Sure.
it's my understanding that this is going back to a look that may have existed when the building was first built. Thomas believes that there may have been doors because it was a car dealership at one time.
Yep.
I've heard that it's more in keeping with the Sullivan-style building that this is, more the smaller lights. Back when it was constructed, they didn't have glass panes quite that large.
Yes.
So it's kind of going back to the way it probably was. So,
Very
just for the
nice.
record, I'm Stuart Rapp. I'm the general manager, or the general partner of the partnership that owns the structure.
Thank you. All right, so, any questions on the presentation before I open a public comment? Nobody from public comment here. I'll leave it open till we go to motions. Staff, anything more to say?
Nothing further.
Sure. character. That's all right.
a lot worse than that.
Well, the night's not over. I mean, you never know.
by Mr. Rath.
Okay, well, moving along. So, Commissioners, and Jim, did you have anything further you wanted to say?
Nothing further.
Okay, Commissioners, how do you feel about it?
I think it's great. I think it looks good. It will look good.
Fantastic.
What are you putting in there? Cook store still?
No, the cook supply store has moved out.
Okay.
We've renovated the inside, and we're negotiating with tenants.
Doesn't impact the application at all, I was just curious.
I understand.
It's a really cool old building, so.
Oh, I love going
Oh,
in
yeah.
there, yeah.
I don't know what it's going to be used for, but it's going to be exciting, you know?
That's why I ask. It's,
I agree, that cook store was great.
oh, yeah.
It was, I am actually a gourmet cook, so I was in there a number of
I
times.
used to go in there a lot,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
You got to prove something like that, Cheryl. You got to bring it out for the world to see.
One of these days, we'll talk. So, all right. In that case, I'm going to close public comment and ask if one of the commissioners would like to make a motion on the findings, please.
Sure, I'll go ahead. I move the commission find the application to be compatible with the preservation and protection of the district.
I second that.
Okay, Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
Commissioner Crowley?
Aye.
I also say aye. Would the commissioner like to make a motion on a certificate of appropriateness?
Sure, I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 239 Main Street, Hyannis, as described in the submitted materials.
I will second that.
Okay. Commissioner Crowley?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
Aye. Sorry.
Just say aye. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Kind of a no-brainer. It looks great.
Yeah, nice job.
Be a huge improvement.
And the money it will save.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing the black trim on those windows with the black above.
There you go. Sweet. Hey, take your,
Sawyer Realty Holdings, you're up. See, that wasn't so bad, was it?
No, not bad at all. You got a quorum? Are you kidding me? Wait all night.
Go right back. You have-
Want me to move it down?
No. Get those out of your way.
I'm always causing trouble.
It's just that way I don't mix them up, and those are done.
Still causing trouble.
yeah, of course.
So I want to ask you, this is with regard to demolition and to renovations in a new structure.
Correct.
Since they are the same address and the same property, it's up to you, do you want to consider
to
them
handle it all
separately
as
or
one.
together?
All as
Okay.
one.
Are the commissioners all happy with that, staff, everybody?
Sure.
Okay, all at once, that's fine. So,
David Lawler. I'll let everybody else introduce themselves. I don't like to.
Sure. Devin Ryan Marini, Assistant Project Manager at DJSA Architects.
Dennis Swart, President, DJS Architects.
And
Welcome.
actually, I'm the attorney for the project. Just as these are the real pros. I'm here just to kind of introduce the project and talk a little bit about the process and what we're going to do. But I wanted to state that we were here before you several months ago with what was considered phase one of the project, which was the smaller conversion of 20 units in the back half of the lot, which actually abuts South and School Street. This is the major project that we talked about, and we wanted full transparency at the time. We wanted to make sure you were fully aware then what we were intending to do now. This is an extremely exciting project where we intend to, from a demolition standpoint, I'll address initially. Can we get the put up on the board? Thank you.
you're fine, you're fine.
I should have brought my pointer.
Pointer? No? Okay.
So,
You can use the end of that if that's...
no, that's fine. If, can you pull up actually the site plan of the, or do we have existing conditions or no?
We have
That's
this
right, yeah.
rough site plan.
So on the existing conditions, as I talked about previously, we had the prior project which was approved by this board. That was the conversion of 20 20 motel or hotel units on Building E, and they were converted to 20 individual units for rental. And there was very little work that was done, changes of colors and a few other things that this board recommended. and we implement it into the plan. Now, as you can see, there's three separate buildings, building A, B, and C. And this actually is not existing conditions. This shows where these buildings are right now, but I can get up and point to it. Right here on building B and A, there were two small brick components of that are used for restaurants, and I think we're all familiar with those.
It was right on the end.
Yeah, right on the edge here, yep. And the proposal will be to remove those structures. Those, actually, I think were, I can't say for positive, but they appear, an examination to have been additions to the buildings A and B after initially when they were built. It's pretty certain that they are. I don't have a building record to indicate when these were added, but they were clearly add-ons. They look, they clearly don't match the existing buildings and the original build. We're intending to remove those. Also on building C, if you could go back.
Am I blocking anyone, or you?
There's a portion
Good, thank you.
of building C right here was a connection, and that is to be demolished. And that's a connection of, and it's more of an entryway, and it also contains the pool. And that's to be demolished. Actually, the pool is an old 12 feet deep. I walked in there and because they drain it in the winter time a little bit, and before my client owned it, I almost had a heart attack. If you fell into that thing, it would be, it was treacherous, quite frankly. So that portion and the roof connecting to building C are going to be removed with a little bit of just fixing up the facade where there is going to be removing of the connection roof. Do we have another picture?
Yep, I just have to see where the,
I'm sorry.
that's okay, right here.
There we go. So that would be removed. That's the demolition that we're proposing in the project, is the removing of the pool area of building C and the small connecting roof from the pool building, which clearly was built, again, the pool building was, again, more than likely, again, the building department, for some of these older buildings, the records aren't that easily attainable. It appears that the pool part of building C was connected at some point in time, just from looking at the construction. So we're going to be removing the pool, and there's a small office in there as well, and then removing the roof. And I think the only work to the building itself is, I think, when the roof connects, there obviously has to be some stucco work and whatever, but whatever's being done would be to match the existing structure as it is. Then, the exciting part is, once that's removed, we intend to put up a large structure with brick on the bottom, 4 stories, retail on the first floor, which is in keeping with the zoning, with clapboard painted in consistent colors that are provided on the northeast color palette, which are the colors that have been pre-approved by this board. We have worked very closely, or I have, the architects have worked very closely with staff and the underlying development guidelines for the town to work with the roof lines, to break up massing, and to keep it consistent with Main Street. One of the things I did just before this meeting is I drove down Main Street very slowly. The brick portion on below is very consistent with the buildings on the other side of the building, a little bit east, or actually directly across the street, but working your way up. I call them the Puritan buildings. Very consistent with that look. And then the second floor through the fourth have the clapboard, again, which is very consistent with I think, the guidelines as set forth by this board. We've worked not only with the architects, but also the engineer, Matt Eddy, to attempt to have these structures fit in with the classic Cape Cod Main Street design. And very careful with the windows. Some of the, some conversations having, keeping it, simple, not gaudying it up with, just unnecessary items to make clean, simple lines. But I'll stop talking and let the real pros who designed this beautiful building talk. Devin, do you want to jump in?
Yep. So as David stated, we are starting the project by removing the addition on Building A, and also, not going to see much of a difference, they look almost identical, but the addition on Building B. We're then refreshing those buildings with the colors that we're using throughout the rest of the site, so everything looks like they were supposed to be all together. Then we will be removing the pool area on Building C, and then the connection from the main building to the pool, you drive under it, and then when we remove that, we obviously need to relook at the elevation, and we are keeping as much existing as we can. Again, consistent materials, consistent colors, clapboard siding and brick. And all of that to make room for Building F. We have a consistent storefront on the main level that's looking towards Main Street, and brick on the first level with transom, divided light, and the residential floors on the second, third, and fourth floors are clapboard with the colors from the Benjamin Moore Northeast color palette. Right now we show divided 2/2s, double hung windows with fiber cement trim and the gabled roofs. The rear shows all the access to utilities. All the mechanicals on the roofs are hidden within the gables, so nothing will be seen from Main Street. And this is the corner of High School Street. The entryway to this commercial space, since it's on the corner, we did a diagonal entryway from the corner, with keeping in line with the historical guidelines.
Okay. Anything else for now?
You want to show the lot? Do you want us to go through the site?
Oh. And the plan is to add plantings out in front of the commercial spaces to break up.
And there will be a little bit of zoning relief that's necessary, but with respect to the historic components of it, again, we're in keeping with the traditional Main Street. I'm on the Main Street bid board, and I have been for well over a decade, more than that, and about 15 years. And this is in keeping with what Main Street is trying to accomplish with the plantings, with the retail on the first floor, with the 3 residential units above that. Main Street's, had its struggles, but traditionally, housing and residents, especially of this nature, high-end, I don't want to call it high-end, this is, it's not, there is an affordable component to it, but, it's people living and working on Main Street, and that has a tendency to really revitalize the street. And I think the concept is projects like this and the other ones, that a rising tide lifts all boats. And I've had the privilege of developing in Hyannis since 1997, and some of the developments I've seen over the years, when something like this goes in, the neighbors look at their buildings and say, hey, you know what? Let's put a little money into it. Let's put a little bit of paint into it. Let's fix up what's across the street. Now, I'm not saying that the neighbors in this area aren't in already good shape. They are, for the most part. But there is a tendency to see, when a project like this comes in, that everybody seems to take pride in that little area, and then all of a sudden the whole area starts to clean up, and get a little neater and cleaner, and really turn Main Street into what it is, but, a little bit better, because it does have some of its struggles. And this is there to provide not only housing and retail, but really take Main Street up a little bit of a notch. It's been a battle.
Any more of the presentation?
We open it up for comment.
Any questions from the commissioners on the presentation? We'll go into the deliberation after public comment. I have a few questions of my own, but I always like to go last.
Yes, you do.
The best for us.
Are there any specifications, what you're doing with lighting, when it comes to lighting at the door, like with the commercial space below and all that kind of stuff?
Well, right now, we're not exactly sure what we're going to have in there for tenants.
Okay.
So obviously, with each tenant, we would need to provide like a fit out and whatever would be required to be approved.
I would add, we can just go to that floor plan real
Yeah.
quick. So the entries, that front along the sidewalk undulates.
Yeah.
So we
Oh,
will have
sorry.
as the doors are recessed off the sidewalk, there's going to be a recessed door with a ceiling there.
Okay.
So we would anticipate some sort of
Downlight.
downlight in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it really wouldn't be a visible fixture, at least at the Main Street level, but you would have lighting, but it would be hidden up into that ceiling.
Okay.
That's the intent right now.
Gotcha.
And obviously, we would conform with all the guidelines, because there's, fairly detailed guidelines as far as outside lighting is concerned, with down lighting and making sure that there's no light intrusion in the neighbors and all that. We'd obviously have to, at that point, have a comprehensive lighting.
So Commissioner Matthews, thank you. That was question number 3 that I had. That's why I wait till last. But while we're on that subject, I'll elaborate on it. You say you're going to have some lighting up, kind of recessed in. Are you able to put lighting on the sides? I know some of the other buildings have gone in, they've put like the onion lamps or something that's historical in
Like a
there.
gooseneck type lamp.
Yes.
Yeah, we'd certainly be open to that.
Yeah, one, it's historical, two, it's safety for that.
Yep.
Can we get back to the elevation?
And how do the other commissioners feel about that? I mean, on the entrances?
I guess
Like where you have the corner one, where it goes
Yeah.
in.
Certainly on the side ones, it would be difficult
I know, it'd be difficult
in the
in the
middle
center,
ones,
yeah.
but yeah, certainly we could do, we would, subject to staff approval or whatever, and they could run it by the board. I mean, we would certainly be willing to put some type of a lighting fixture that would be appropriate and in keeping with whether it's an onion light last suggestion, which is a great suggestion, or something else that we can collaborate on, certainly.
Yeah, something, it's just it's wonderful, I love it, but I just feel,
No, it
make it a
makes
little
sense.
bit more historical and a little bit more,
It's not, and lights, lighting is good. I mean, lighting keeps everybody safe,
yeah,
and also, quite frankly, shows off this beautiful building. So,
something like on the brick areas like we have
Yeah.
here,
one there on either side, yeah.
Yep.
things like
That would be
that.
no issue
We
whatsoever.
have this.
It's a good suggestion.
And you have,
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion.
that would soften it up a little bit, and then you had a side view.
Yep. This is the rear that looks towards the parking lot. This is the high school street side, and then this is against the other lot line.
On the front view that you had this circular thing at the top, something to kind of soften
Okay.
up here,
Yep, just a
kind of
trim
bring it-
piece,
it's
yeah.
A trim piece, something that,
Absolutely.
I know it's minor stuff, but it helps to soften it and make it more historical. How do the other commissioners feel about that?
I agree with that, absolutely.
Okay. And you had another set of 4, and I think they had something.
Well, you want us to go
If you could flip through
toggle
them,
back? Yeah.
I'll stop you.
Toggle back.
There, that's
Yep.
what I was thinking of. Because this looks kind of bleak to an
Okay.
extent, but if you could soften it, I find you've already got something there, but somehow, some sort of trim piece that softens it up.
Okay, so maybe bulk up the cornice or something.
Yeah, something that.
Right up-
that
right here?
Takes the coldness out of it. yeah.
Okay.
You want like another,
Well, it's gonna
Decorative
clash,
piece?
it's, yeah, something decorative. I mean, you already have the 2 at the top, So it would clash if you did the same thing. I don't know if it would clash
They'd almost
or
do a
not, but-
rectangular one on the floor,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah,
Something
something
like
to
Yeah, I
that.
think we can, as I'm looking at this, we certainly could work with beefing that cornice up, but
Yep.
maybe the head of those second floor windows, we add some sort of
Yeah,
trim
right.
detail there to make that, sort of
And-
cap that off.
Right now, it's taller because it's serving as a guardrail
I
to the
understand,
balconies up
I
top,
understand.
so.
But then,
But definitely,
is this an entrance here?
that is the residential entrance.
So maybe
Right
another
here.
light there.
Yes,
So at the en-
definitely.
At the entrances.
Yeah.
Feel free to chip in, anybody, or even if you don't like my suggestions. So that's what I was thinking of lighting. Are there any signs? Or if there are going to be signs, you'll come back to us for approval?
Come back for sign approval.
Also, I wanted to ask Jim, does this meet with the coding and guidelines and everything? And if it doesn't, where is it?
Right, so the,
Height and things like that?
right, this application is currently working through site plan review. It does meet the height standards, and we are working with the applicant on all zoning purposes. But in terms of massing and height, it does meet those standards.
The current ones
Yes.
that we go by?
And in terms of the design guidelines, yes, obviously, as I typically express, our design guidelines are meant for interpretation by this commission. They meet the initial review, but it's obviously up to this commission to provide your guidance as to things such as building form, building spacing, scale, proportion, massing in relation to the buildings on the street.
So the last thing I had, well, two things. Which I forgot to do on others. But there doesn't appear to be many garden areas or is there garden recreational? You're going to have a number, you have the retail and they don't really need it, but then, maybe they do. But the residential on floors 2, 3, and 4, where are they going to go? Is there some sort of, I was looking here to see the greenish areas there.
I mean, it's not a, it's city living. And, this is right in Main Street, active. Most of the units are smaller units. I mean, obviously, we welcome children. We would never discriminate against that. It's not what we anticipate to be a big part of the, we're looking at younger professionals and older professionals and not just professionals, working people, but we're looking, because there's not going, the units are smaller in size. We don't anticipate many families, but again, obviously, we welcome them. So really, I think what the activities will be people going for walking on Main Street. It's very accessible. It's a little bit of a clip, but people walk all the time, walk down to Keys Beach, walk down to the various Hyannis, Aslington Park on the other side, but we're hoping walking to the restaurants and other, and shops and the coffee shops and things of that nature. That's the market of individuals we're looking for. So as far as on-site, areas, I mean, we have there really isn't much.
That's honest.
Are there any two bedrooms?
I don't believe there are any two bedrooms.
How would that work with a family?
Huh?
How would that work with a family?
Good
Well,
question.
people can, with the one bedroom, they can, that's what I'm saying. It's not, there's various projects going on. There's a lot, that have been before this board that have 2 and 3 bedrooms, and this is one that's focusing on 1 bedrooms because it's more of the city, that reason, it's the city living. It's not really an area that we're looking at. Again, people are always, we're not trying to discriminate against anybody, but at the same time, based on the economics of this project, we're looking at more of that urban, younger, and older professional people, whether they're going from downsizing their bigger homes to retirement and living in a smaller place, or people starting out and renting. That's the market we're looking at. I mean, right now, there's a need for housing for all markets. And if you free up one market, it opens up other markets. So this is a particular market that we're looking at.
We haven't spoken about it, so I have some thoughts, but question-wise, the only other one I have now is parking spaces. Does that meet the regulations that we have?
We're seeking zoning relief on that, but we also have in the works some off-site parking, which would alleviate that issue, where, because this is a mixed-use facility, there's the retail, there's the residential, but remember, we're keeping the motel use. And the motel use is primarily, really only, because we're keeping the motels in buildings B and C. So those units, so every single residential unit will have an assigned parking space, every single one, including the ones in the back in Building E. Every unit will have a minimum of one assigned parking space, so that anybody who rents and lives there, with respect to the motel units, during the really probably 8 or 10 weekends where it's busy, and I think it very rarely became full vacancy, we're going to have arrangements to have off-street parking that's going to be approved by the zoning board. We have 2 particular lots right now we're in conversations with. I don't want to say anything else because it's still.
Is it close to the hotel?
Very close, yeah, right on South Street. Certainly walkable. Now, whatever, but it would only be for arrangements for the motel use. So, for instance, those weekends in the summer where it's busy, whether they set up a valet and they pull people in and they park their car and they run down and do it, or they just have the owners, the renters go and park and then, drop their bags off and then come back. We don't anticipate with the amount of spaces any issues with parking. And again, and that's a zoning matter where we will be requesting some relief. But with respect to the residences, there'll absolutely be designated parking spots. We anticipate having them numbered, for residential only or whatever, that they will be specifically designated for unit 3A or whatever they are.
Okay, so that's everybody A and then everybody on the backside too on that.
Anybody that
Gotcha.
rents, anybody that, and this isn't weekend, or this isn't, short-term rentals. These are year-long rentals. Anybody that enters into a lease with my client's company will have an assigned parking space. And I'm assuming they're going to be numbered. It just makes sense, but whatever. But they'll clearly be identified as for residents only, and that each unit will have to coordinate and try to make them obviously closer to, and then if, with obviously any handicap unit, it would have the handicap spaces close by. So that's all taken into consideration.
The year-long rentals, so...
That's all there is year-long rentals.
Year-long rentals, but are they able to sub-rent? If you're cringing faces.
Never even thought about that.
Yeah.
These aren't, certainly, that's not the intent of the, the market wouldn't really.
My concern is we're going to, I like the project, don't get me wrong, but I have to also look at possible snags, and one of my concerns that comes to mind, and again, Commissioner Matthews, that was my second to last question that you highlighted.
I read your mind,
You
Chair.
are. Well done. But the question
We would
I
certainly
had...
agree to put some type of thing in the lease that there's no subletting without reasonable approval.
And if I can just address that, Dave, too. We've done work for this client before, other projects.
Yeah.
And just knowing the number of units they manage,
Yeah.
I do not picture them with their strong asset management of other properties, that these would be sub-rented.
But you see, my concern, what I was going to say before, is if the residents there can't park there because people can't find parking space on the street because their guests and that are there, then we end up with the people who live in the community outside of this area who can't go in to use the shops and things like that because it somehow goes crazy with, well, we've got 3 people who are actually using this unit, and so therefore we have 1 parking space, so we're taking 2 from there, and we end up with this already difficult problem as it is out there, and
these
how
are
do they
these
deal
are
with it?
one bedrooms, so yeah. I thought you were meant if they were going to try to rent them out to summer people for the week.
Well, I meant that, that was that part of the question.
And
Yeah.
I will say this: we would be more than willing to put in the lease some type of prohibition because it's not our client's business plan.
Yeah.
So we would agree to that.
Is it specified anywhere on the plans where trash is going to be stored and picked up?
Oh, good question. I missed that
On the
one.
first floor, at the rear, next to the elevator, there's a trash room.
Trash room.
Yes, and right now, at the back of the lot, near Building E, there's proposed additional dumpsters to the dumpster that is existing, and the staff on site will take the trash from the trash room and bring it to the dumpsters regularly.
And again, we do that in other properties that we've worked with them. We have a trash room in the apartment building. And they have staff that either on a daily basis or twice a day, whatever they need to do. The staff.
And it's quite a large room, as you can see from there. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of units, too. So.
I wouldn't want to have the unit next to it, though. Excellent question, Commissioner Clark. I didn't even think of that. Wish I
I'm
had.
just looking at a previous meeting and going down the list.
So going back to the garden area or whatever, can you bring up Building A, or is that, which one?
Sure.
Oh, shutters next.
Or were you looking for the
I'm looking at,
plot?
And Building A is going to stay the same, but kind of refreshed.
Yes.
Yeah, except that there'd be the small component removed.
Yep, the brick component on the front.
So do you want the site plan pulled up? Is that what you're looking for?
yeah, I have, in other words, I spotted a couple green areas, maybe some benches could be put there so that
You want some benches where?
where there is some green area, just simply so there's
Yeah, we put benches in.
some places to stop.
I'll bring it up with the landscape architect.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, no, you know what, I mean, I can tell you right now, we'll agree to put benches in.
yeah.
No issues at
I
all.
just think if you have that many people, so Great Aunt Gazelda comes down to visit, and she's 93, and you're taking her for a walk on Main Street, you can't
Well,
quite get back. You
I
want
do
a place
have
where they can stop.
I want to be careful, though.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes that creates some issues with homelessness.
oh, that's a good point.
So I actually might withdraw my statement. I think
Okay.
it may not be the best. Unfortunately, it's a great idea, but the present situation in Hyannis probably doesn't avail itself to that.
Actually, I'm going to agree with him on that. How do the other commissioners feel? I hadn't thought of that.
I had to remove
Oh, yeah.
milk crates from the front of my store, so they'll use anything, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a client of mine that they put out a beautiful bench, and he tried everything, been politely, and then just had to remove the bench.
No, fair enough. I was
It's sad.
I was thinking on a different level.
Yeah, I was. You were
Yeah.
thinking. You were thinking in the world, which we're trying to turn Main Street into, and
Maybe some sort of
Maybe
art
someday
feature,
when
like a little
things-
statue or something.
maybe someday when they,
that they
you know-
can't abuse.
no, I can tell you this: if that
climate.
problem kind of, eventually, it's not going to be any time in the short term, but hopefully, those poor folks that find a better situation, and if it's not a problem, I can guarantee you my client would love to put benches up because I know who she is and
Yeah.
would want people enjoying the backyard in the summertime, and
Understood.
yeah.
I just had a couple of questions, just pardon my ignorance, it's all a little new to me. But looking at that top page, so A, B, and C are going to remain as motel space, but freshened. And we've talked about different removals that are going to be made, but they're keeping their same footprint.
Yes.
F was part of the hotel and is now going to be residential.
Correct.
Okay.
F is new.
Oh, F.
No, I'm sorry, E. E, I think
What
you're
about-
talking about E.
Well, E, what's happening to E?
This board approved 4 months ago, converting the 20 motel units into 20 residential units.
It was very similar to what they have here.
Sure.
So they've kept the same
Right.
overall.
We've heard to that.
And we actually had lights on that one as well, if I remember correctly.
It's all existing lighting. They're just.
Yes, so maybe they can mimic, so it stays
Yeah, that's why I said
consistent,
we'll
yeah.
work with,
Yeah.
if we, whatever language
Yeah.
you want to add.
So what are we looking at F, that's the change?
F is going to be a brand-new
It's a
building.
new building.
Okay, there's nothing there currently?
Yep.
Okay, so F is totally brand new. How many units are in F?
It's 47.
47, okay.
They are small units.
Broken up between the 4 floors, the 3 floors.
Gotcha. Let me just turn quickly.
Yeah, so
So-
the front is commercial on the first floor, the rear is residential.
What's the setback on the sidewalk?
0. And then on the 4th floor, it's 8 feet off of
Okay.
the street.
And that's what, if you look at traditionally what Main Street has been over the years, like the Puritan Building, that's, actually, some of the buildings are on, I think, on the town footprint, depending on how much sidewalk there is, and,
Right.
but there's, and sometimes they're out, but there's clearly an intent to have it right on the sidewalk, similar to across
Right.
the.
Sure.
Yeah, there actually might be some town space, or some whatever space between, but it's 0 on the sidewalk.
Okay. Well,
So-
just quickly, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to quickly continue, so I'm looking at 201, and I see what seem to be very kind of high roofs, but then I look at the picture on 203, that kind of shows that it's more of a gradual raise. So
Yeah,
this
I-
203 would be what it looks like.
From
And-
the street.
From the street, and
Yep.
201 is the...
And then,
Okay.
you know, keeping with guidelines, all the roofs are broken up, so it's not just one long, tall
Okay.
gable.
And-
Where it is tall, it's masking the mechanicals on the roof.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was my next question. On 203, we do have those higher
Mm-hmm.
levels on kind of the pop-outs. What's going on there? Do the people on that top floor have access to, so that's balconies for the people on the top floor? Okay, so that's balcony space for all of them
For
across?
the front unit and then the one on the side.
Okay.
Yep.
And then 100 would be the back of the building, the back of this, oh, I'm sorry, 100 is, what does 100 represent?
That is building A. If you want to look at the rear
Okay.
of building F, it's on A202. and It's the top view.
Okay.
Yep.
I got you. Now, why is it, and I guess, you know, this is again, the plan itself, the roofs do seem quite high, but it's on a kind of a grade. What's the rationale, what's happening there on that very top floor with the rail?
Those are the RTUs,
And what is that?
mechanical units.
Okay,
Yep.
So that's the screen, those units, so you can't see them from Main Street.
okay.
Yep, and then the fence is the guardrail, so
If you
you don't
go
fall
on,
off.
if you look at a lot of the
Oh, that's
buildings,
helpful.
Yes.
if you look at some of the buildings that were built before this board established, and you're on one side of Main Street, you can actually see the air conditioning units and other mechanicals, and, you know, that, one of the guidelines and requirements is to make sure that that doesn't happen, that there's nice-looking faux facades to cover up all the mechanicals.
Right, right. So you put it there, okay.
Oh, sorry.
And I think that's all it had.
I apologize for interrupting you. So the balconies, they seem to jut up quite high, quite significantly above the fourth floor.
The balconies?
Yes.
Right here?
Well,
So there's no, this is the mechanical units.
oh, that's the mechanical
Yep.
units, okay.
You can only see the balconies from the front, they're
Okay.
right here.
Right, because
They're
I
along the
just
front
noticed
units.
that, and I thought, I didn't remember those being balconies. Okay.
And that accounts for the height, that you have those units in there. So
Right.
the roof is going to be a little higher to
Yeah, so
accommodate
that you
that.
can walk up and service them.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yep. And if you're on the other side of Main Street, you can't view them.
okay.
Jim, clarification on the setbacks, please?
Yeah, all along Main Street, it is a 0 setback requirement. And as Attorney Lawler mentioned, it's to mimic the historic patterns of Main Street. And yes, there's several examples of 0 setbacks on Main Street. Just think about any of your favorite restaurants going down Main Street where the building meets the sidewalk, essentially is that 0 setback. If I may just clarify with the parking real quick.
Yes, please.
So site plan, as I mentioned, it's in front of site plan review right now. That was one of the things identified was parking relief necessary. That path to permitting, while not before this commission, would be in front of the planning board for a special permit if they did choose to move forward with relief for offsite, to have offsite parking. That is a required permit, so it would have to go before the planning board for further relief.
Did I misspeak and say ZBA?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
So would you clarify relief and how that works for the general public who are also watching?
Yeah, absolutely. So anytime, so in general terms, and I do this, do a presentation to our inside town government once a year. So in general terms, special permits and variances are identified in the zoning code. So our local zoning code identifies all the different special permits that may be allowed. Those special permits are assigned to different sections of our zoning code and spell out what could be less than the typical standard. And if you want to seek less than the typical standard, you are to request an application before a certain board, and it will spell out that board. And for downtown Hyannis, in the growth incentive zone in this district, in the entire Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District, if there are special permits outlined declined, they would go to the planning board. And so one of them in the zoning code that was adopted a few years back was that of if there is request for relief for parking, so less than the standard required, or if an applicant wants to put it on a separate lot, they must apply to the planning board. The planning board then holds a public hearing, much similar to what you see here tonight, but before the planning board. They meet twice a month for many different special permit interests. And then there's also variances, which is exactly what it sounds like, vary from the law. And those would be for specifically things called out in the zoning code that are not allowed. There's no request for variances at this time from this application. So at the moment, it's a special permit to the planning board for relief for parking. So again, this wouldn't be in the purview necessarily of the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District, but I think it's good to clarify that there is further permitting required potentially.
So that brings up a question to me. If the permit was denied, would this project still go forward?
It would have to be back to site plan, and then, let me take, if I can add a little bit to what Jim said. So part of what the planning board or the zoning board, in this case the planning board, when you're looking at a special permit, basically they want to take out the legalese, that it's consistent with zoning, that it's not detrimental to the neighborhood, and they apply that standard. And they look at it and say, okay, well, yeah, it doesn't exactly conform, but it still is consistent with what's going on in the neighborhood. So generally, certainly I would be most likely the attorney handling that. If I was before the zoning board and I saw that the zoning board was more than likely to vote against it, I would probably withdraw the application, go back to site plan, and find out what they're looking for. What relief do you do? Say, for instance, it was parking. If they wanted more parking off-site, then we'd go back and find it. But if it was denied, we would have to either wait 2 years or redo the project, which would bring us back before your board.
I guess, and then that leads to the question of and I would ask this of staff or anyone, are we jumping too early to make a decision on this without really getting the full information of what's actually going to be happening with
It's
this?
a chicken and an egg situation here.
Yeah.
And traditionally, applicants go to historic first and then zoning later because it's just the way it goes. Because in order we have to have historic approval, we have to go through site plan, and that's just traditionally how it's happened. Because the zoning, we're not going to be more than likely changing the structure. We're looking at more of issues associated with the lot, where though this board has, authority over the lot and the standards. But it's more as an attorney who's been doing this for a long time, I've never put zoning before historic. It's always historic first. It's just that gets the sense of what we're trying to build. And if zoning board does make a substantial non-minor change to the building, we would come back before you. And then we'd take a step back, and then it might be conditional approval. But in this project, I wouldn't think that would be the case. I've been proven wrong before.
Yeah.
But I would think that if there's going to be any issues with the planning board under the zoning portion of it, would probably be, the parking stuff. But I think we have that worked out. Again, because we haven't had it exactly worked out, I'm a little hesitant to speak about it. But parking is really a zoning issue. It's more of a zoning issue than in the larger scheme, because that's in the zoning bylaw. There's very specific parking requirements and parking zoning. And if we were seeking this, we're not seeking a variance. A variance is as Jim said, you're varying from the bylaw. A special permit is you're varying, but in such a way that it still is in keeping with the spirit of the bylaw. And that's the actual language, in keeping with the spirit of the bylaw.
I don't mean to be rude. I'm doing trust but verify. Is that all correct?
Well, can I just ask, before, Jim, if you wouldn't mind, it's a little scary, by the way, how you're reading my mind. I was about to go there, but I was going to take it one step further, and it also goes to Jim. even though it is not in our purview to dictate the parking, it is in our purview, the lot, and it's in our purview for the character of the town.
Well, no, I said that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
still, the
yeah.
parking
So-
technicalities, but the whole lot is in your purview. I don't want to be
Yeah.
disrespectful.
No, you weren't. I wasn't saying that.
Okay.
Don't worry,
I
I'm
don't
not
wanna be-
rapping any
yeah.
knuckles here.
Okay, I don't want, no, but I would never be disrespectful. I understand.
I know that. The, is it something, I mean, there's a number of things we're going to say here, and there's, everything's kind of, no problem with that, with the lights and coming back for signs and all that kind of stuff. And I've made my list, and I'm sure you've been making a list as well. But are we able to make part of one of the conditions that something with regard to approval by the other entities with regard to in other words, we like the character of the building, but we don't want the parking to damage the character of the town. So therefore, can it be put in such a way that the parking can't damage the character?
Well,
historical character.
I think I understand what you're saying, and also to Commissioner Matthews' point. So it's not really a chicken or the egg situation. It's about purview and responsibilities. This commission, its purview and responsibility is to look at the architectural features of the site and to render a decision on that for this specific project and for potentially many other projects. There is specific relief required, a special permit or something there, where a board, another board, such as the planning board, has a very specific duty to look at, a question that is posed to them. This applicant perhaps is seeking off-site parking, so their purview is to see whether or not, as Attorney Lawler mentioned, impacts the neighborhood in a negative manner or not. Whereas this commission is taking what is applied today, what is before you today, or further amendments perhaps, and ruling on that. Now, if another board commission alters this in some way, it is mandated that they come back. So if, say, the planning board said, absolutely not, you have to figure it out on your site, and the applicant has to tweak, say, the building layout in any manner that alters the exterior features, they're back before you and stating such, easily that, the other board didn't agree. Now we had to make accommodations, and here's those changes. So it's very much about purview, and that's why I think it's good that we kind of refresh it each meeting to discuss it, because it's important to know where everyone's role is, and that's the case for this one.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I don't know if now's the right time or if you want to do it after. I have just a handful of things that I just wanted to say about the project. First of all, I have an affinity for the Hyannis Inn because I believe I'm correct on this. I believe that's where JFK's election night party was in 1960. So I think it's a really cool historic place just in general. So here are my concerns. I know that down up above on Main Street, a 4-story complex was approved by this board. I was one of the ones who approved it. But I got to be honest with you, I have concerns with a scale that large on that part of Main Street. A scale on how it looks regarding surrounding buildings, even buildings in its own plot plan. I mean, you look at buildings A, B, C, and this is going to be 2 stories above that. It's just going to look so out of place with all the other buildings around it. That concerns me a little bit. If you look at the colors, the color scheme that's submitted, this looks almost carbon copy to the very first design kind of scheme that was submitted for another property up on Main Street that we totally said, this doesn't look historic. And it came back and the colors were kind of changed and stuff like that, where we got it down to a way that it looked a little bit better. This, to me, it doesn't have a historic feel to it. Not even the design of the building, but just the coloring and everything. It just doesn't feel like that fits what we want Main Street to be. That's just my opinion. Though it's not in our purview, I am concerned about the parking situation because I do think that could be an issue. I am concerned that we're going to, be asked to approve of something today that may be worthless if it goes back there and it gets all torn apart anyway, which is fine. Again, I know that this is where, we're going to deal with what's in front of us today. I'm just saying what's in the back of my mind. And finally, and this is the biggest thing for me, we just have a quorum here of 4. And Tom and Jack and Laura, especially those 3, I know where their stances have been on projects like this before, and I don't know how comfortable I feel going forward without having their presence here to get their thoughts as well. This is a very small number we have, 4 out of the people that we have on the committee, and I know there's, at least in my head, those 3 that would have really good thoughts, objections, or ways to make things better, or that kind of thing. And I feel a little uncomfortable making this kind of rule with just the bare quorum. I think there should be more of us to debate it. That's my opinion.
If I can address one aspect of that, I understand what you're saying. We do have a quorum tonight, which means that we have opened. We are hearing this, having the presentation of this before us. However, if we continue it, which may be a possibility, and I think that might work, it is my correction, Jimmy, correct me if I'm wrong, only one of those 3 can then attend, have for the next hearing, because only one can mull in.
One can mull in and vote. They can all participate
They
in
can
the
all comment, yeah.
conversation.
Only one can vote, though.
Yeah.
I'll be transparent and say I think we should continue as well. And while we kind of stay on character instead of design, I mean, is there any thought about sandwiching a largely seasonal hotel in between 2 residential complexes? Because another historic event took place there, which was my sister's wedding night, and that might as well have been Fallujah in 2006 in that plaza right there. So the interaction between tourists in the summer cutting loose on Main Street and going back to their hotel rooms, and then these working people in 1-bedroom studios that we're trying to kind of cohabitate. I would just throw it out there as we're expressing concerns that that could be an odd mix on an August night or July night. Could certainly be an odd mix.
I wasn't aware of the historical event of your sister. I'm glad it was there. Thank you. But when is this being heard by zoning and planning for this other second
No
part?
application has been made.
Oh, it hasn't been made yet. Okay.
We're in site plan review. We've had one, we're having another one, and we're just trying to bang out everything in site plan review. The initial site plan review, I was away, but I was informed that it went fairly well. There weren't a lot of major issues. I mean, respectfully, Mr. Clark, with respect to the use, yeah, I mean, it's, this, again, this is city, this is, Hyannis, I don't want to say city living or
No,
downtown
it's not city
living.
living. It's not city.
I mean, it's the Hyannis, we're looking at people who will be very well aware when they sign a lease of what they're getting into. As far as the motel use, yeah, I mean, might there be some active nights, 1 or 2 nights in August or 2 or 3 nights in July, but the vast majority of the time, the motel is probably less than 50% full. And I think that, this particular client has developed properties all over the Commonwealth and is very well respected. And they understand, and certainly fully disclose to anybody who's going to rent there what the situation is. And it's a business model that the business people looked into. And I respectfully say that, like the business model part of it, there are laws, there's regulations, there's noise regulations, and, we will have staff there. They'll police the area. This is a relatively well-run outfit. And if there, anything can happen one night. But if this isn't the type of place that's going to allow continual abuses going on. I mean, you know, as I said before, anything can happen one night because no one's ready for it because it never happened before. But if there's a pattern or whatever, I'm pretty confident that this operator would quash that in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Can I ask you what the eligibility is for the purchasing these units?
I have no idea what the rents are. I never asked.
So it's going to be one and they're renting it out?
Anybody who can afford the rent? And,
Oh, okay, so it's
yeah, they
renting,
don't
got it,
obviously,
okay.
there's no eligibility.
Yeah,
We
okay,
don't
got it.
discriminate in any
Understood.
regard about anything.
Okay.
And there is
So-
the affordable units as well.
What we did with another applicant, if not two of the other, we've had several of these lately, the other applicants, is we continued it, and then in that interim, the commissioners would contact planning and say, this is my concern for this. Is there some way of addressing this particular issue? I think I've already voiced mine. But the, and, you know, things that might be able to be addressed, maybe to tweak or something like that.
I mean,
Because reading, it doesn't, it looks like a continuation might help to facilitate.
Yeah, and I anticipated we would not get approved tonight, so certainly I'm not going to object to continue.
And I appreciate and thank you. I know some of you are driving from longer distances, and I do appreciate that and understand that. I think we need a little bit more time.
No,
That's all.
and Mr. Matthews, I mean, the colors of the building were chosen from the palette that was deemed historic and approved by the board.
Do you have thoughts on that?
If you have thoughts on that, we'd be more than happy to listen to them.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go back and research the meetings that we had with this thing because again, honestly, when I saw this come through, I'm like, oh my God, they used the same thing, exactly the same thing. So
I did too.
It's just a matter of it just looks exactly the same that we said. This is a little bit too modern for us.
And if you want to get that to Mr. Kupfer and your suggestions to him, and then I think that's the appropriate channel.
That's my plan.
And we would, you know, I mean, one of the, you know, nice things about this board, but all boards, but this board in particular, sometimes you come in, you know, for instance, Ms. Powell, the suggestion of the you know, the decorative thing on
Toning
the
it
side
down,
of the
yeah.
building. Huh, Cheryl?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl. The decorative on the side of the building. That's a really good idea. It looks good. It's not very expensive.
Yeah.
It makes it pop. It's a great idea. It's something we didn't think of, but this board thought of, and we're going to instantly incorporate it. And quite frankly, if you didn't demand it, we probably would incorporate it anyway, because it's a good idea. And that's the stuff that, but I would, you know, love to hear from Mr. Colley to see what your thoughts are.
Well, I was a big fan of what's happening in the TD Bank property because, as I mentioned during those meetings, if we leave areas fallow, then they're just subject to never going anywhere and just going backward. So I like the idea of bringing vibrancy, bringing life. I like the idea of this will attract young professionals, and by and large, and I think that's a good thing. I think that end of the street needs some kind of something, some energy to kind of develop that end to it. And I think this, combined with everything else that's happening in the area, does it. I like the commercial space on the ground floor. I think that's a home run. When I first looked at 203, the first thing that I thought of was a hopper painting, like kind of a little bleak. It just seems to lack a certain character. And in particular, what catches my eye, I know you need those machines up top, so that kind of creates almost like a squint effect at the very top of the building. I don't know how much you'll catch that walking on the street. If I'm all the way down, will I see all the way up? Will I catch that? I don't know.
Back 8 feet.
Yeah, I don't know.
You'd have to be on the other side of the street, I think.
But the things that are of concern to me are some of the things that Cheryl echoed about kind of trying to find ways to make it more historical, to kind of soften it. For example, if you look at 203, we have two very large setbacks in the building itself that give it almost, not a brutalist look, but certainly a much more blocky look. So if you're in one of those other apartments that's set back, you're just not going to get any sunlight. I mean, that's just how it's going to be. So I guess it's that idea of this crowded nature of it, but that's the construction, and I'm not necessarily against that. I think what I'd much rather see are those elements that Cheryl was talking to, something that gives it life and character and a little historicity and makes it just blend more with kind of trying to be, not that this is cookie cutter, this is not cookie cutter by any means, this is really thought out very, very well. But but just that be a page, and sadly, I don't know what that looks like. I just know it when I see it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, so,
Like a lot of design.
yeah.
Paint.
No, and these are the things
We'll
we,
explain that breakup. From one of the guidelines that they're working through at the planning department, a certain size buildings needs to be broken up by,
Right.
and setback 10 feet. So that's why it's broken up
Right.
there. That's kind of the middle. But if it looks blocky, I can take another
Yeah.
look at it.
So those setbacks will typically be 10 feet in a building such as this?
It just,
Where you find
I
it?
think it, was it 10?
I think it was 6, or 6 or 7.
So
I don't have it in
these are
front of
only
me.
like
but-
6 feet? These look really much big. The illustration, I think, may be disturbing.
Yeah, it might be like an odd,
Which I have them written where-
I mean, that looks like it's going at 15 feet.
yeah, so this is 10 feet back here, and these are all 2.
Right. I guess it's the 10 feet.
Yeah,
That's
so I can relook
That caught my
at the
eye.
regulation
Yeah.
that made me step it back that far.
7.
It's 7?
It's 7.
Okay, then that can be
Yeah, it is
pulled.
7 feet, yeah.
Yeah, the illustration,
Yeah, because these patios are 8 feet back.
Yeah.
So if this went to 7 of where the guideline is, it would come to about here
Right,
instead.
right.
Which would definitely soften it and not make it look so blocky.
yeah.
I think if I mean, actually, get my crowns out, but I think if we could make it more historical, seeing here drawing in, I think there's ways. It's a bit like when you build a house, you know, you have the initial thing to begin with, then you put in the trees, you put in the light fixtures, you know, you put the other things that makes it be at home, or in this place, you want it to be historical. But I think it's definitely doable. I really do.
That's
Pardon me.
Potential. I think it's just a matter of making it. So is that where we are?
Yeah, I just want to address one other concern that, it's actually with respect to Mr. Matthews. And I understand, because I'm an advocate, I get up here, and I generally, for the most part, present projects, occasionally oppose them. Very rarely. And one in particular that you're aware of. But the component about the height and the size is that, and you've heard, I think, from other people, but it's true, that construction costs today, the mayor, between purchasing real estate, and especially since the past 5 or 6 years, the cost of construction and, a cost-based analysis of what you're putting in, it requires these larger buildings. I mean, there's a lot of programs, and it was not a historic, but I was in plenty of boards, it's public record. I was involved in 850, and there's a lot of, public tax benefits and other things in order to build housing, because they know that when you're building multifamily housing of this nature, that the cost is so much that there has to be some type of, massing or development, because it just doesn't scale, it doesn't work. And that's, and that's one of the reasons why the new zoning changes were put in place, was that people could always have gone up a couple stories and it didn't make sense economically to put the 2 stories above and build on. If you look at Main Street, there's been the ability to put apartments up there for years, and it's never happened. And the reason it's never happened is because it doesn't pay for itself, and developers can't afford it. And that's just the blanket reality of it. And it's the blanket reality of, and I'm gonna be a little corny. I've had the privilege of mainly being in Barnstable. I did the first regulatory agreement back in '97 when they had the one on Barnstable Road there where Beyond Beauty's in. I forget the address of it. And I've done, and moved on to the Greenery and 540 Main. But I've been a part, and I own on Main Street. And I've been a part of it, and I really am not only just professionally invested, but emotionally invested in it. But that's a big component, having been on boards and, special committees with the Cape Cod Commission and all over the years with, before Elizabeth Jenkins, with Joanne Buntage and the Cape Cod Commission, and sat through all of this stuff. And the market ultimately dictates. So you can create these rules, but it's not until they created the ability to go up to 4 stories that you see this rush of people coming in to buy properties, and to your extent, taking these underdeveloped properties that are in tough shape and trying to restore them for the next 75 years or 100 years. And the reality is it could have happened on the smaller level, but it never did for 20 years because it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, I appreciate everything you're saying and not denying that that's true.
Yeah.
But also, from my understanding, one of the things that we're responsible for is making sure that any new project matches the character of the area surrounding it. The 2 other projects that I have voted yes on that were upper 4 stories, I thought in those areas that it wasn't that much of a character changer because of where they were located. Because of where this is located, I'm more concerned.
Okay.
Especially because you've got a 4-story, and right on your own property, you've got 2 stories all around. So not only is it out of scale with the neighboring buildings, but also your own buildings. That is a concern to me, in all honesty. And I'm not afraid to go 4 stories because I already voted yes for it. It concerns me with the character around where that building is. That's the only thing.
Okay, no, and I just...
And again, I'm going to put this all in an email to Jim, and he'll take it to the proper... And again, I understand what our purview is, and I understand that I have to go by our purview, whatever the rules and guidelines are. I'm just telling you, as a commissioner, my concerns with this project that I haven't had with others.
Okay, no, and I just was trying to respectfully address it.
No, and I understand totally. I get it.
Yeah.
And I will say I'm sorry, go ahead. I will say one of the things I am concerned about is the height, but it is in the regulations. We go by the regulations, of course. But we have approved other 4 stories, and that doesn't mean we're not going to approve this one. It's just we're trying to tweak it. But I always have this thing in the back of my head: are we going to end up with a tunnel effect going down Main Street? And
basically,
I want to avoid that, but I think we can tweak it enough to where it doesn't, and it has the character that, protects it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the tunnel effect, part of that is the setbacks that offsetting the building backwards that Jim talked about was one of the things that was put into the guidelines by the professionals, by the town.
Yeah.
And we've followed, with respect to this building itself conforms to all the regulations. We're not looking for any construction relief. Mm-hmm. We've absolutely followed those regulations to the T. Mm-hmm. And with, which is, again, having been involved in the meetings that created the zoning, that, was very important, and those things were discussed, and, traditionally, historically, not everything has been perfectly neat. I mean, things grow, and that's one of the great things about New England, is that things just, like Boston, the Boston streets, they are not planned like they are everywhere else in the country. They just develop. They might be a pain in the neck, but they're cool.
They are, but again, and I don't want to belabor the situation, but that's Boston. This is Cape Cod. This is Hyannis. This is different.
I know. I'm just saying.
No, I know.
The way it develops.
And I think there's ways to grow but again, the character. Again, I'm not going to belabor the point. It's just the concerns I have.
And I don't want to punish your project for what may happen in the future, so I want to be careful about that too. But this happens, and 1 to 2 more, we do have the tunnel. Yeah. And I know we already put that in motion. That was this board with some other commissions and whatnot, but it starts to look like a tunnel.
Yeah, that's my concern.
To that point, real quick though, I would offer anybody a site walk again on Main Street, because I would disagree with that statement wholeheartedly. I've talked to Commissioner Doherty, who's been fantastic about this very specific item. And if you look at the parcels that are out there, the ones that have been submitted before you, and again, I'll leave the specific projects to this commission for your review, but the ones that have been submitted before you are the larger parcels. Mm-hmm. When you look at the parcel by parcel basis on Main Street, the only way that a tunnel would be established is if one developer came in and bought up all of Main Street, because we have, many of you are property owners here, we have slivers of parcels that are not going to be redeveloped because you simply can't do anything with a 10-foot wide lot, essentially. Some of these are actually 10-foot wide lots with no, no parking, no opportunity for parking. So there's very specific reasons why the zoning is as it is. And I think the corridor, while understandably for those who aren't sitting there staring at a map every day, but like myself, would have concerns over it, and that's why honestly I'm welcoming anybody, not just here but anyone listening. I'm happy to walk with anyone and offer guidance on that, because I have looked at this very closely, because I hear the concerns, and I just don't think it would come to fruition in that regard.
What if these
Might wanna
big
do
guys
another
keep
walk.
coming in from Boston or something and say what you just said?
Yeah.
You have a 10-foot lot, you can't do anything with it, you can never develop it. I already paid your neighbor, come on. I got the money, give me yours too.
Yeah.
And then they go to the next guy and say, you can't do anything with this. I can. Here's $2 million. Come on. Like,
Yeah.
It can happen.
And you're a very savvy developer, Mr. Clark. You would know that you would have to get that to pencil out, though. And the property that you just mentioned, a 10-foot wide for $2 million, isn't going to pencil out over the course of time. But that is, again, you are correct.
Yeah.
And that's why it's great that we live in the town of Barnstable that has town council form of government. If we truly saw, real concerns about, wholesale rechange of up and down Main Street, I think it would be red flags, and let's go talk about what are some realistic changes that could be made.
Or at least write a secret letter about it.
So, as chair,
Thank
I
you.
am going to corner this moment for Commissioner Crowley, who has been waiting very patiently, trying to say
I just had a quick suggestion in 203. It appears to me that if you look at that space between the first commercial floor and then the apartments, I don't know, is there some kind of design element that could be put in there, kind of giving it a little warmth, a little historicity,
Statue.
something that ties in? So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about these
statue,
design
a
elements.
nautical statue.
So just kind of here, this kind of blank space. Is there something
Where the
that,
band is now.
yeah, that band, like
Can you
elements
show
like
me what you were
that?
talking about there?
Sure.
Make sure
So
I'm-
you see this long band going all the way.
Oh, yeah,
like-
yeah.
It seems like that could be, I don't know, what do I know?
Nautical statue.
Yeah, who knows? Statue of Cheryl.
I'm not nautical. Well, I am nautical. I got a
Yeah, I have a
skipper's
skipper's
license,
license,
but
Skipper's
the,
license.
I will say, underneath the overhangs at the entries, we are proposing bike racks.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that looks pretty cool.
Jim,
So there will be something there.
I'm sorry, Jim?
Just two quick items before continuation. I know we have a member of the public here. I don't know if there any questions or wanted to offer comment.
We still have public comment open.
Okay, I'm from the Cape Cod Times, Susan Vaughn.
Hi, Susan.
Yeah, so I'm-
Susan, would you like to take a chair so we can?
Yeah, 'cause they can't hear you.
So we can hear you. Come up to a mic, please.
The
Yeah.
video can't hear you either.
I don't really have any extra questions, like, but sounds like you've all asked them. One thing, I wasn't real clear on this setback thing you were talking about, though. Those,
The zoning provides zero setback there, that's required.
but the setbacks are on these just second and third floors, is that it? These, the
Well,
blue,
the
the blue?
setback, under the zoning, the setback has the first floor, zero setback.
Right.
And then it goes up, and then on the top upper levels, it scales back.
Okay.
So as not, the purpose of that is to visually reduce like massing, so it
Oh, right,
doesn't look
right.
like a giant box.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
where the buildings are facing streets, on the fourth floor, it needs to be set back 8 feet.
Oh, 8 feet on the
Yep.
fourth floor, okay.
And that's just visually to allow for,
But what about these, in the blue there, those are, how much are they set back?
So those are
6 feet?
just broken up faces. It's written in the design guidelines that you can't just have one long continuous face for the entire building.
Can I suggest
But
you give
the
her a business
middle,
card so she can show?
remember I've talked to it.
over a certain size, you need one larger breakup of the building. So I set that back in, that's
And I'm-
where that middle blue part is.
I'm more than happy to talk to you on the phone tomorrow if you want.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm going to be on deadline, but anyway. But you asked the question about something about the sunlight. Were you talking about those setback
No,
areas? that they
yeah, I
wouldn't
was
get enough
wondering about
sunlight?
the
talking about me or-
I'm just basing this solely on the illustration about the level of sunlight that those apartments that are
Yeah.
part of the setback would then be experiencing. But I think I'm fooled a little bit by the actual distance. I'm seeing that distance on 203, that pop-out and that setback as being actually greater than it is.
And there hasn't been a sun study.
Right,
Like that's
right,
not
right. This is
the
just a
real
rendering.
trajectory
Yeah, it's a
of the sun.
rendering.
Yeah, so.
Can I suggest one? A sun study? Do you do them?
Yeah, I'm not
Yes.
sure.
Is there such a thing? Yeah, sun study?
No,
Yeah,
Well, we certainly can try to, on the resubmission or the next hearing. we
yeah,
can
they're
try to
not
do-
exact.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's got to be estimation. So I can't sit here at the next hearing and say, this is what it's going to look like at 12:25 on July 3rd.
It's also, I mean, it's actually, Main Street's pretty easy because you have the east and the west, so it's starting over here and it's ending over here.
Did you, were you asking, I wasn't sure if we answered your question or not.
Yeah, yeah. That was the one thing I wasn't clear about.
Tim, you had something?
Yeah, just, and also Commissioner Doherty did submit something in writing.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
happy to read that, or if you'd like to.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Please.
So
Thank you
Commissioner.
for reminding me.
Yep. So Commissioner Doherty wanted to offer some comments and apologize for not being in attendance. So below are some of my concerns about Sawyer Realty proposal for 473 Main Street, Hyannis. Can you please share these at the meeting on March 20th? Sawyer, number one, Sawyer Realty's proposed building is not the essence of Hyannis Main Street Historic District or Cape Cod. It is very generic. Number two, the building is too large for the property and too close to the road with no room to plant new trees alone. Main Street, Sawyer Realty will be destroying 3 large mature trees currently in front of Building C to erect this new building. Is there any way Sawyer could incorporate these trees into their design? Number 3, the back of the building is very plain. Slide A202. I would like the back of the new building to have a design that complements or copies buildings A, B, and remaining C. The new building front and back should complement the details of buildings A, B, and the remainder of building C. Number 4, I would like to see details and samples of all material being used: siding, windows, shingles, brick, lighting, railings, etc. Number 5, I would also like to see more molding treatments used in the final design. Number 6, more detail to landscaping, especially adding trees. This building, as proposed, in my opinion, does not complement the historic district of Main Street, Hyannis. Respectively, Tom Doherty.
Do you have a copy of this?
I guess just very, very quickly, looking there on that diagram here, we see the middle, which is clearly this kind of carve-out, right in the middle. But on the illustration on 203, where would that be? It doesn't seem to be matching up to me unless I'm not looking at the right spot.
So you look at the front, it's this blue piece in the middle.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha. Perfect.
Which is that?
The
203?
perspective might just be.
Yeah, I was just asking questions about 203, the illustration there, but I got that.
That's going to be awfully dark for anyone who has the units with those windows.
We'll be bringing it up as well. Right now, it's set back 10.
We're gonna bring it in
Discuss
3 more
bringing it down
feet.
3 feet.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, in all honesty, that's up to the person who rents it, I mean, or who buys it, or whatever the case is. I mean, you can just,
It's
here it is.
also a studio
Right.
unit, and those windows look at their kitchens. And where the living space is of the studio unit is the front 2 windows that are next to it. So it's not the whole unit inside that recess.
It brings to mind one of my visits to New York, where I paid for a room with a view. And I got into it, and it's typical New York, of course. And I was like, where's the view? And they called down, and they said, if you open the window, you have a view.
Chair, is public comment still open?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I will wait.
Is there someone else here for public comment?
No, but I wanted to make a motion, but obviously public
Well-
comment's still open, so I don't want to.
Is there anything else that you had to say, ma'am?
Thanks.
Okay, so I think, trying to wrap it up, we've said quite a bit tonight. I want to thank the applicant and their attorney for bearing with us and being very patient and being very receptive to some of the comments. I think, unless I'm misreading this, that we're kind of in agreement, we would like to continue this.
Yeah, that was going to be my motion, is just to continue us to our next meeting.
We're all in agreement on that. So that would be the motion, that in that motion, please, that we will undertake to submit our comments to Jim to relay to the applicants.
I will
some of our
submit.
suggestions, and also Jim is.
I'll submit to Jim, and I guess you can forward it on down the line, whoever needs it.
Yeah, absolutely. Individually, if you would like to submit any comments to me, I'll respond to the applicant. Realistically, just want to put it out there, next meeting's kind of quick, perhaps.
Okay.
You have revised plans and all that. So I don't, the commission talked with the applicant what would be realistic, but April 3rd is the next meeting, so that's exactly 2 weeks from today.
And that's Easter in there too, right?
And I believe so, yes.
Yeah, Sunday.
So the following meeting would be April 17th, I believe.
Which would you, how did, I'm easy either way.
It's all up to, I guess it's up to our applicants. If they need a little bit more time, we'll do it on the 17th.
That would also give you an opportunity to kind of put in some of the
Yeah,
things that you've
yeah.
already said. 17th, or
Especially if we need to bring samples, I don't know if we can secure all those things in the next,
So might I suggest
Sure.
that we suggest a motion be made for the 17th? Is that right? Do you okay? Okay.
That motion?
Let me close public comment.
Oh, okay.
And now if you'd like to make that motion.
Okay. Let's continue the discussion on 4073 Main Street to the April 17th commission meeting.
And that's with regard to both the
The demolition and the
yes,
and the build.
renovations and new structure. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Aye.
I also say aye. And thank you very much. That passes, so we go to the 17th.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Again, I appreciate the long drive.
Make sure you get right in that one. Okay.
I think he calls us the Matt Clark. Do you put a "the" in front of that?
From now on. Announcement on the radio for me.
The Matt Clark.
I need to get your name.
Take pictures of what was up there.
That's fine.
Yeah? Is the applicant?
Well, I can't, I won't be able to scan them.
We are
I have to
also
scan.
actively in a meeting.
I don't know how I'm going to get one to the, I'm supposed to get them to my editor, but this might be easier.
Robert's
Just to
rules
get a
suspended.
quick picture. Yeah, I'll get a copy maybe.
So,
Onwards and upwards.
The one that without the, that one, yeah.
You want a hard copy? I have extra hard copies here.
I have the hard copy. I just, this will be easier then.
Do you want to make a motion on the approval of minutes?
yeah, I'm just waiting to get my agenda sheet out. I put it in.
Thank you.
All right, so there's no matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair. So approval of the February 21st, 2024 minutes. Would somebody like to make a motion on that approval?
I make a motion that we accept those minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Carley?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
I also say aye. Our next meeting will be April 3rd. We will then also have another meeting after that on April the 17th.
Be careful of the...
Yeah.
Can I have a motion? Anyone have anything before I ask for a motion for adjournment?
I'm good.
Okay, motion for adjournment, please.
I move to adjourn.
Second? Seconded. Commissioner Carley?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
I also say aye. We are adjourned.